Well, I think we can go ahead and just, out of respect for everyone's time, go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:38 p.m. and start with a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. So Councilmember DeAndre Jones, looks like he is present. Then also Chair Jennings.
Present.
Vice Chair Bryant.
Present.
Commissioner Morgan. I don't see Commissioner Morgan online. Commissioner Turner.
Present.
And Commissioner Walker.
Present.
Wonderful. And Commissioner Huggins. And he is present online. So we have a quorum, Chair.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. Braden, this is Councilman Jones here.
Hello.
I'm leaving my office in Springdale, so my camera will be off the entire time, probably.
Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
All right, just want to thank everyone for your time this evening. It's great to be back together. We have a couple of things on the agenda tonight, so we'll go ahead and get started with the approval of the minutes from our last meetings. Does anyone have any changes or amendments that they think need to be made to the minutes?
And I have copies here if you need them in print.
None.
Okay. Not hearing anyone speak up, could I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, well, the meeting, the ayes have it, and the minutes will be accepted for the record. The next agenda item is the Nelson Hackett marker, and Britton was so great to send us all the information that she has compiled for us, and that we can begin discussing that and coming to decisions, hopefully this meeting. I apologize for my absence last meeting, but I did review everything, and I think we made some great progress. So I think what we can do first is I can open the floor up maybe for discussion on the marker type to see the preferences for everyone in the room. So if anyone would like to speak first, just go ahead and speak up so we can hear your thoughts.
I'll start, because I certainly have a thought and an opinion. So after reviewing all the materials and thinking about our discussions, I lean toward the bronze post-mounted option for a couple of reasons. The first being that I think it looks the most, for lack of a better word, official. And more so than that, I think that the visuals of it and the material and the look of it support the significance of the material being communicated in the marker and of the life of Nelson Hackett. So that being said, though, I am conscious, right, of the cost. So the cost, based on the information that Britton provided, is $2,500 versus the $475 on the stainless steel sign. And my only concern, I think it's a worthy investment, and I think $2,500 is a very worthy investment to commemorating the life of Nelson Hackett and promoting that in Fayetteville. But I would hate for the cost to be something that keeps us from getting it. But those are my thoughts. I lean toward the bronze post-mounted.
Okay, thank you, Caleb, for that. And I'm in agreement with you on that one. When I was looking at the information, kind of for the same reasons, I feel like if we're going to show the importance and emphasize the importance of the story, then it needs to be something that looks official. And I think it does give it some significance, and it also the investment in that is also significant. That shows that we are really trying to make this town more inclusive, and I think that the bronze option is what I prefer as well.
I concur with both of those opinions. Does look more official, and it looks, especially this is going to be established and laid down in part by the city. If especially it's on a trail system, depending on the location, and I think they'll do an excellent job in spotlighting it. And again, the cost. I mean, you're looking at the cost, but if it becomes cost prohibitive, yeah, we can go back to Plan B.
Okay, thank you, Wendell, for that. Vice Chair Bryant, do you have an opinion or any comments about the options?
I like the post mounted more than I did the wall mount.
Right.
The wall mounted, for the sheer fact of you would have to jump through a lot of hoops for the wall mounted and where to put it and would we be able to put it and who's going to take care of it, us or the building owner.
Right.
I like the post mounted, and the other I liked was the idea of like at the end of the trails, not the 4 post mounted, but the ones with the pebble block, I could call it. That's also, that you've seen at the end of the trails. I like that as well, but I don't know that you could get a lot of information on there as opposed to a post mounted. But I am in line with if it's going to be cost prohibitive, we need to back up and look at something else.
All right. I agree. I mean, of course, I think the importance is to actually materialize the marker, but I do think that it is worth us to put the effort into and kind of speak up for and fight for what this commission envisions, because that's kind of the role of the commission, and I think it's worth us kind of expressing our wishes and fighting for what we want to make this marker a reality. Commissioner Walker, do you have an opinion?
I like the post idea, but again, I'm in agreement with everyone else. If it's cost prohibitive, then we'll need to look at something else.
Okay. And Councilmember Jones, I know you're probably driving right now, but do you have any input to give us on this?
Yes, thank you. Britton, what was the price of the one that everyone is referring to?
So to do a bronze marker that I believe Commissioner Turner was 18 inches by 22 inches, to do that mounted on a post and kind of to do like the nice bronze finish, which means a dark background with kind of the goldish colored letters for the text. I think that altogether was going to be about $2,500. I think it's actually slightly below that, and some of it depends on some of the specific details of how you order the sign. So I think there's a way to bring the cost down a little bit with that type of sign even, but also ways to add some decorative elements, like the fancy piece that goes on top of the post, for example, that kind of, it doesn't literally keep the sign on, but it kind of makes a nice finish. You could spend, I think, up to a few $100s on something just with that little detail that maybe not is necessary for this particular one. But I think we're reasonably looking at probably at least $2,200 to order a plaque of that size and to get it post mounted.
Okay, and the prices of the other ones. I'm sorry that I don't remember. I've had a million things happening here, but yeah, sure. I'm just concerned about, as everyone else has mentioned, the cost possibly, and this is something that we can. This is something that can be mentioned if it gets to that point. Presenting, I would prefer to take options to the city council, because I would hate for the council for some reason to say no because of the cost. Having another option, if that's possible. Like, what would be the next option to keep us from having to go, to keep you all from having to go back to the drawing board and decide something? What would be a good alternative?
I think to begin with, just looking at the general pricing, size seems to play a fairly large role in the price for the markers, and so I think we could look at a smaller size sign. So same information, but maybe in a smaller font. 18 by 22 is not particularly small, but it's certainly something that you would notice. And so it's about almost a half poster size. And so we could look at reducing the size. I could also look into other material types. Things are metal is not cheap right now. So
Right.
so timing too is, I don't think in the city's favor on any of our recent projects. I think you've seen that Councilmember Jones play out pretty consistently in contracts that have gone to the council. So size is one, and I think materials are another. I could also check with our facilities staff and see what kind of items they might have on hand. That's something I'm less familiar with, and we just had a little bit of a changeover in staff there. And I have a good working relationship with their staff, and would be glad to get some more detail on where we might be able to reduce costs for a lower cost option. I know them more for building elevator kind of stuff than I do for signs, but I understand they have that capability potentially as well. Otherwise, I think we are looking at going to the bronze markers are very thick when they're post-mounted. I think that adds a lot of metal, which is adding to the cost. So we may see if there is a thinner material that could still be successfully pole-mounted. Another option, and this is a little bit of a wild card, but our transportation division does erect signs in the city.
Right.
And so going to their model of a sign, which would be a bit different, but I think probably more cost-effective. Because they use, I think, aluminum as the backing, and then they have print options. And maybe that was one of the things in my email, but I don't think I'd kind of fully fleshed out what that could look like.
Right. There's
Thank you for providing that feedback, because I wouldn't say, I definitely won't. That's just an option. Of course, if the city is willing to pay the $2,500, that's perfect. And I won't even mention an option unless during the conversation it comes up, and then I can say, well, there are other options available, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Right, my only concern, and I understand, thank you, Councilman Member Jones, for that. Just with other options, I just want to make sure that it fits the moment and that it doesn't look cheap, for lack of a better way to express it. I just hope that whatever we end up getting approved for just looks nice and looks like there was thought behind it, and that there was a serious investment in doing it well.
I hardly think that the city is going to put up something that looks like trash. I don't think that that'll be the case at all. I understand what you're saying, and I have no doubt that the city is willing to consider the $2,500. But I also live in a real world, and it's hard to say what. I don't know. So it's best to be best practices and smarter practices to also always have some form of alternative that won't take away from the features of the project. I think that's the smartest way to do it. And again, we will certainly petition the city for what you all are asking for, but just in case, and I think it's always wise to look at just in case. And so I am planning to look at another. I feel that it's feasible, and it just makes good practice to have an alternative if we need to present one.
Great, thank you, and I agree with many of the things that you said. As far as the type of marker, are there any more comments regarding that? All right, hearing no more comments regarding that, I think the next thing we can talk about is location. Has anyone, or can I get some comments on what we all? Oh, well, I guess we need to. Do we need to vote on that?
So that's up to the commission. If you would like to vote, so you would probably want a motion that specified with a little bit of detail
Right.
What your recommendation would be, and then we would probably want to do a roll call vote where I would call the commissioners' names to do a recorded vote, and that was on the advice of the city attorney to do roll call when you have a recommendation for the council.
So the recommendation is to the city council for spending
Yes.
on, okay.
Yes, and that's a couple of reasons, most specifically because there would be a budget allocation attached to it, and budget allocations go through the city council. So a lot of our commissions make recommendations to the council on things like that.
And Britain is something that they should know as well. If any of you are familiar with city politics, there's always an opportunity for an amendment. So that may very well come up. So if that comes up, I mean, the amendment could be an alternative. So I think that that's something that you all should consider, because it could be amended. So whatever you decide, the council has, of course, the last say and can make any amendments that we feel are necessary.
Okay, thank you for that that information and advice, Council Member Jones. I guess was anyone willing to make a motion that we recommend to the City Council a pole-mounted bronze 18 by 22 sign in honor of Nelson Hackett, with the possibility of other more cost-effective options? I
think you just did.
So can I get someone to make that motion so that we can?
So moved.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second.
I second the motion.
Perfect. All in favor? Oh, roll call for the vote.
Okay, so I'll call roll so I can record the vote individually, so there's no confusion. And so, Councilmember Jones, did you want to vote on this or abstain?
I'll abstain.
And so, Chair Jennings,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bryant,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan is not here. Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
and Commissioner Huggins.
Yes.
Okay, and so that passes unanimously with a 5-0, or a 5-1 vote with the 5 votes in favor, 1 abstention, and none opposed.
Great.
Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you.
Brayton, I have a question. When we make when we introduce this to the council, will we, if the idea of the alternative comes up, will we have that information before us, or how will that work?
So we could do this a couple of different ways, Councilmember Jones. I think it's really up to your preference. What we would be able to do maybe as one option, and what I'm probably more accustomed to, is a lot of times if the staff member who is the kind of administrative support to a commission will prepare a staff report capturing what the commission's action or recommendation was, with some details and then analysis, providing a lot of background and doing a lot of that. And then a lot of times we'll submit that to the city council agenda, and then present that item. And so I think where you have an option, because you are part of this commission and certainly have the ability to represent this commission, you could also kind of just go ahead and represent that, and I could, facilitate that by providing documents or details that might be important to the discussion or relevant, kind of basically a much more polished version of what the commission has been seeing and considering, probably a little bit more refined and a little bit more concise. And maybe, kind of the initial option or the preferred option, which is the bronze marker on the pole, but then also kind of a back pocket item, if you will, if another option is needed or alternatives are needed, to have kind of that prepared with some cost and technical information as well to submit. So it kind of would then be your choice. Would you want that initial, just one of the sign options presented, or would you want both presented at the same time? You mentioned the amendment, of course that's an option. And so would you want the alternate sign kind of brought forward during the discussion, or would you want it as part of the initial submittal to the council agenda?
Britton, if I can, is it possible for you and I to get together tomorrow?
Yes,
and,
sir.
Think this through just a tad bit more?
I would be absolutely happy to, because this, so I get to do this with other, like the Planning Commission, for example. If I'm responsible for an item that goes to them for a recommendation to council, then I'm the staff person that carries that forward to the council, which doesn't exclude the council members from commenting and presenting on that. But with Councilmember Jones being part of this commission, I think we'd want to consider whether Councilmember Jones might be better than a staff member for that. So I'd absolutely be available for that, sir.
Yes, so let's talk tomorrow about that, because I want to think it. Yes, tomorrow is good. I think when we talk tomorrow, we'll be able to have a better picture, because you know me, there are always things that I want to consider. So this will pass the very first time, and so that's my goal, is for it to pass the first time. And so I think tomorrow, meeting with you tomorrow and talking with you tomorrow, that'll be good. Thanks. So yes, so I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, that sounds good. And just so everybody knows, my process is usually slower than Councilmember Jones's process. So, so it depends also on what meeting of the city council we might be looking at. It'll be a while before I can get things on. We're probably looking at September at this point, just because I have deadlines that the council members aren't constrained by, which is one of the great things about being an elected representative of our city.
Yeah.
So
I would say go in with the idea of the bronze marker, and if they start talking about, well, what other options would you consider, then start bringing up the other options.
Right.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's and again, my initial presentation, of course, it will be the $2,500. But as you mentioned, Ms. Lewis, if there's some conversation about the price, then we'll say that there are options. I don't want to put those options out there with the presentation, because you want what you want. But if you can't get what you want, then of course, we'll discuss the alternatives. But Britton, let's talk more about that tomorrow.
yes, sir.
All right, perfect. The next point under the Nelson Hackett marker that needs to be discussed will be marker location. So again, I'll open the floor up to anyone who has thoughts on a possible location for the marker.
I still like the flower bed idea.
Out on the square? Mm-hmm. Right.
So for anybody who may not remember, or been a while since we talked about it, the flower bed in front of the Bank of Fayetteville on the northwest corner of the square is a possible location. I've checked with our transportation division. It's a beautifully landscaped flower bed that gets changed out a lot with the flowers that are in it. It has high visibility on the square, and so it is a city flower bed, and one that this marker would kind of join the maintenance of that flower bed if installed.
Okay.
I think the visibility and the appeal of that location make it a wonderful option. I also think the fact that it's city owned and city maintained, I mean, that's a huge logistical piece of the puzzle out of the way, where we're not having to Lois's point, if there's a business that we're having to adhere it to their wall, or outside of their business having to figure out who maintains it and how we get their permission. So I think that I would agree that I think that's the best option.
Yeah. Plus, we don't have to deal with, excuse me, with the city owning the property and it being within the city's property. We don't have to deal with the traffic sight lines.
And that,
Already.
I had double checked that too to make sure that there weren't concerns about that. And
Yeah.
it looks like we've cleared, we're clear of the intersection site. So,
Okay.
for traffic.
Those were good thoughts
Sounds
on
like
that
it.
one. Right.
Sounds like that bronze marker would be a perfect location for that.
Right. I mean, that's technically part of the case that's made. If you look at the surrounding area and the bronze marker will fit in there. When I was driving by it on the coming to the meeting, I was thinking about that and trying to visualize it there. But I think that would be a great location for it, especially like in the summertime and farmers market when the roads are closed and people can congregate around and read it and have access to it to see it and everything. So that would definitely be a location that I would support. Do we have any other comments based on the marker location, or anyone that has a different location where they would like to see the marker? Okay, not here.
Again, I will just say, and I'll get with Britton. I guess tomorrow, Britton. Also, too. If there is another place, I'm just saying. There may. Of course, you're going to, you'll advocate for that. But just in case, are there any other areas that have been discussed previously?
Really?
Not really. But one of the ideas that I thought of at one point was somewhere along a prominent space on a trail, where it could have some traffic and could be a place to locate it somewhere like that. Would be an alternative option if we couldn't have the preferred location.
Yeah, perhaps.
Okay, I don't see why we can't, but just in case, I do want to put that in the parking lot, just in case, someone may say, well, there just may be some concerns, so you never know. So I'm definitely want to be prepared for that.
May I add that another along that trail system is on Dixon Street. You're talking about a high volume, high traffic, exposed area.
Which also has flower beds.
Yes, they do.
Maintained by the city.
Maintained by the city.
Oh, wonderful.
It's just very convenient for standing and reading
Right.
without people maybe scootering into the pole by accident.
I would also add that I think I suspect you probably already do this because you're sharp as a tack written, but in the staff report that it'd be valuable to reiterate that if I'm not mistaken, I think the northwest corner of the square was a recommendation by Dr. Pierce as a location that was significant. Had historical significance to the life of Nelson Hackett, and I think that would be.
It was, and so there's currently you'll have to think of Fayetteville in 1840, which is not the Fayetteville that exists today. And so there's the Bank of Fayetteville, and there's a white building with the title up top, Mrs. Young. Mrs. Young built herself a building. So the store that the enslavers of Nelson Hackett owned was roughly just to the left of Mrs. Young's building.
Town and Country Shop.
I think, yeah. So, but the building's not there. That building got burned down in the Civil War, at least. And so there's kind of a point of physical reference. Although I also remember Professor Pierce stating that historians are maybe take a more like a grenade tactic, I think was the language that he used, and close enough.
Yes.
So that's my recollection of that conversation.
Right. Yeah, that's how I remember what he talked about when he met with us as well. So, can we get a motion from a commissioner in support of that location?
I'll make the motion.
The motion is on the floor that we locate the Nelson Hackett marker on the northwest corner of, is it Block? I don't know the street.
It is Block and Center.
Okay. On the corner of Block and Center Street. Can I get a second for that motion?
I second it.
All right, and Britton, can we do a roll call?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, I'm assuming you're abstaining.
Yes, I am.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner or Chair Jennings
Yes.
and Vice Chair Bryant.
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan is absent. Commissioner Turner
Yes.
and Commissioner Walker
Yes.
and Commissioner Huggins.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That is a vote of 5-0 with one abstention. So that motion passes, sir.
All right, awesome. The last bullet point is the funding option, and I'm not sure. I know we're going to the city council, but are we still considering the grant, or what are we thinking about with that?
The grant is still an option, just for the commissioners to have an update. I believe the next application submittal window closes October 1st. So if this did go to the council, and also the commissioners wanted to make a recommendation to pursue that grant, we would still have, I believe, time to get it in for the October 1st review window.
Okay, so if my memory serves correct, two of the major hurdles was actually the type of sign, and the marker location was one of the things that we need to decide before we could move forward with that. So now that we've decided those two things pending city council approval, I think that we should pursue the option of applying for the grant and possibly helping with that to defray the cost or cover the cost of the entire project. Do we have any comments regarding the grant or whether or not we should apply for it?
I think we should apply for it in whole. Although it is going to take some work to put everything together because you have to break the budget down, and it's got to be broken down to a point of where they don't just no and move it on. But that's also something that we can say once it goes before the city council, that we are also willing to apply for the grant to take care of the cost of the marker.
All right, I think it strengthens our ask when we do go for the city council, because it shows some diligence that we are trying all avenues of funding and not just asking the city to fund it without giving any effort to secure funding elsewhere. So I agree with exactly what you're saying, Vice Chair Bryant. Thank you for that. Do we have any comments from our Zoom folks?
So are you all asking, so you will be asking the city to, if you can make if you can apply for a grant, correct? The grant that Britton, is that the grant that you brought before us some time ago?
Yes, sir. The Curtis H. Sykes grant through basically the African American Heritage Council through the state. And so the amount that we're looking at for this marker would be well within the grant limit, which I believe is $3,500. So it seems that this would be, given, I took a kind of a class on how to apply for the grant and what was needed, and it seems like this would really successfully meet a lot of the criteria, including the amount that would be requested.
Yeah, we're saying we would be interested in applying for the grant in whole, which will go a little bit further with the city council, and we're already thinking of a way to pay for it before we hit the city.
So, Councilmember Jones, quick question. So, I would assume that this would all be brought together at the same time. So, would it be useful to like include any language, or how would it work when presenting this to the council, asking to apply for the grant? Would there be any kind of language that if we don't receive the grant, then the ask would be for the council to fund the project?
I think, yeah, well, I mean, anything's possible. Certainly. I do think that I was under the impression, and please forgive me, but I totally forgot about the grant. So I'm not. So sounds like you all are going to ask for the grant. You'll be asking to apply for the grant first. Because what's interesting is there is money. If you look in the bylaws, the city council, there is money for you all to be part of the project. So bear in mind that there is money.
Well, bearing in mind that there is money, we don't want to burn it all at one point. We need to, if there's other things that are coming down, that we decide to.
I think it'll be enough for everybody.
Michelle knows she's not on mute.
So, I mean,
what I'm saying is let's not burn all our bridges on this first project, because there may be other things that we come up with that we definitely will have to, ask the city. If we are showing a willingness to go for the grant first, and we're telling you that we're going to try this option first before we have to get into any city funds, that may go a little bit further for us. Than the jumping off into the budget.
I understand, man. I just didn't know that. I just want you all to know that that there is money in the budget for that. So if you want to ask to apply for the grant first, then by all means do that.
Yeah, I think it would be smart for us to do that, to try to save the city money and get it funded through another source, especially since I think one of the things with the Sykes grant was they showed preference towards projects that could be fully funded by the grant itself versus projects that needed additional money. So I think maybe that puts us in a good position to possibly receive that grant. I just was curious about the process of asking them to apply for the grant, and kind of just introducing that whole idea of the Nelson Hackett project to the city council.
If that's what you want to do, then I don't see why it would be a problem. So do you want to apply for the grant, and we'll ask the council about applying for the grant, and then of course if you don't get the grant to fund this marker, then we will rely on city funds. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And my question was, can that all be in one request?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's how we should move forward with it. Is that so? That would obviously, since that's a request of City Council, we'll need to do another vote on that, Britton.
I think since we have this as a separate item, I think that would be good to have it as a separate vote for y'all's recommendation. Yes, sir.
Can I get a motion to ask the city that request permission from the City Council to apply for the Curtis Sykes grant to fund the Nelson Hackett project?
I make a motion that that once we go before the City Council, for the Nelson Hackett project that we consider and request that we do the Curtis Sykes grant in whole and not in part.
Can I get a second for that motion?
I'll second.
I second that motion.
Would you like to give that to Commissioner Walker?
Yes, let's
No, we want to make sure that you also get to second things, Commissioner Walker. Everybody gets a turn tonight.
Oh, yeah. Braden, can we do a roll call so that we can have that for the record?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, I believe you're abstaining.
Yes.
Chair Jennings?
Yes.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bryant?
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan is absent. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
And Commissioner Huggins?
Yes.
Chair, that was 501, and the motion passes.
All right, great. Moving right along, and now we're on the Archibald Yale street name resolution, and Commissioner Turner, I just want to, because I know this is something that you've put a lot of thought into, as well as Councilmember Jones. So I'll just open the floor up if you would like to talk about this, about what it means to you and kind of your thoughts about the street name change.
Yeah, I mean, not to rely too much on Britton's notes and Britton's thoughts on it, but she shared a lot of good information on a lot of good thoughts and information that really got down to the nitty gritty of it. I felt like the research I had done only scratched the surface, and then I know that Councilmember Jones had done a lot of research as well. So it sounds like that it's been on the mind of those in our community for a while now, and I think that if we are embarking on this effort to memorialize the life of Nelson Hackett as representatives of the city and of our community, if there is an effort by our university and community members to do that as well through the Nelson Hackett project, I think that there's also a good opportunity in this similar time frame to embark on this name change resolution that corresponds with the life of Nelson Hackett and the inhumanity, I'll say, that he faced while he was in Fayetteville, because someone in that story is whom the street is named after. So I am publicly very in support of the resolution and of the name change. And I think last meeting or meeting before last, there was also some discussion about the additional social and economic ramifications of Archibald Yale Avenue. There's a lot of there's race, there's social, there's economic ramifications of the boulevard that I think are all important considerations, and that could go into a public education campaign alongside the Nelson Hackett work that's being done. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity and time to act for the city and for the community. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for allowing me to speak on it.
Oh, no problem, man. Very well said. Councilmember Jones, I know that this has been something that's been on your mind as well, and that you would actually probably be drafting the resolution. So do you have any comments regarding that effort?
Nothing that you all have not heard before. I do believe that it's very necessary for us to, as I've done before, reach out to other groups, and so this can collaborating with other groups. Britton, you mentioned before about members of the Black community, right? So giving the St. James Baptist Church, giving the historical context of Black Fayetteville, I think that this is a great opportunity to collaborate with the Black churches and other Black groups, as we've done before with Juneteenth and with hanging with displaying the flag, the Pride flag, and the Juneteenth flag. And so I'm looking for an opportunity. Well, this will be an opportunity to collaborate again, and I do believe that this is probably one of the probably the boldest thing that we've done here, and I just think it's time to celebrate a different type of history. And the education behind it that Dr. Pierce and Dr. Ben that they've offered, the research that Britain has done, and also to looking at with the developments and the improvements of what's happening now. The last time that this was brought up, the concern was the fact that that they wanted to wait until the project was complete. Well, my concern, of course, is what happens when the project is complete and then there are houses, then there are more houses, then that makes it even more difficult. So this is a perfect opportunity right now with all of the changes, with the changes of the street and what's happening with our city as we move forward and become more racially progressive. I think the time is now, and I am going to be reaching out to those organizations to sign on, and not just sign on, but coming to the council meetings and speaking out about this, because this is long overdue. And as I mentioned to Britain, it's going to be titled Fayetteville Recognizing a Different Type of History. And I think it's long overdue, and I've been talking to many residents in Fayetteville, and some of them, they're all excited, but some have said, I believe it when I see it. So I am very confident that they'll believe it, because they'll believe it because they will see it. And so, yes, I just wanted to say thank you to Britain. I've called you numerous times. And again, there's so many other community members who have been involved in this and who I've been talking with, and this is long overdue.
I think I speak for all the commissioners here as well. Thank you for your work on this. And I know me personally, and I think I can speak for everyone else, I'm willing to reach out to any groups or do some of that legwork with you, so that you don't have to do it all by yourself, since this is something that I publicly support. And so I'm willing to help you in any way that I can to help move this forward.
JL, thank you so much, because it's very important for us to reach out to organizations. So what my plan is to take the draft and email it to those parties, those groups I just mentioned, and say, hey, would you like to sign on supporting this? Also, would you like to speak at the city council meeting voicing your opinion? And would you like to email or reach out to a city council member to offer your support? So any of you, if there are any, primarily I'm looking for historical Black organizations to be included in this resolution. I think that would be perfect. It sends us, it's a reflection of solidarity, and this is an opportunity for again, to celebrate, to recognize a different type of history. So we want the support from everyone, but I do believe that right now it's very important that we are intentional as it relates to reaching out to historical Black groups and Black people who've lived in Fayetteville forever, and say, would you care to sign on? Would you care to be included in this resolution? And that could, I think that would be something that we would certainly want to ask Ms. Bryan about, because of your mom and your family's history. And there's so many others, but I do want, the history of Fayetteville to be included in this resolution. And again, JL, the Kappa fraternity, of course, my fraternity. So I think that there are so many that we will have the support.
Right, I agree that reaching out to different constituents is very much needed to show community support, to demonstrate that support to the city as well. Do we have any other comments about the street name change? So, just one last question about this. Councilmember Jones, is there anything that you need from this committee as far as like a public declaration of support, or what do you need from the commission to help you in these efforts as far as like anything that needs to go before city council or anything like that?
What my goal is, of course, and Brittany, I'll talk to you more about this tomorrow. I'm thinking in terms of when we make the resolution, including this as well. Recognizing Fayetteville, recognizing and embracing a different type of history. And this, I think everything that we've discussed tonight, my goal was to put it all in to present all of this to the council and make a vote on all of it. You know, this is what we're doing, opposed to having like separate different meetings or separate different doing voting separate times, bringing this to before the council at one time. And so, Britton, I will get with you tomorrow again so we can write something up and write one big resolution. So, JL, my goal is probably by next week, my goal is to have this ready to go next week, ready to go out next week. But I doubt it. I'm not sure if we'll have time to get it sent out to those groups. But I was thinking we could probably do it over the weekend. I'm not really sure. But my goal was to get it to the agenda session on Tuesday. However, I can walk it on. So what we'll probably do is just utilize this next week to work on the resolution and then prepare to bring it before the council at the very next agenda session.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. So you don't need us to vote on anything here today?
I think there might be a benefit, Councilmember Jones, for this body, similar to the recommendations that they just voted on, to basically make an action on a motion to recommend the street renaming to the city council.
Yes.
I think that would be a great formal capture of the commission's support.
Okay. Yeah, great. I'm happy to bring that. Can I bring a motion or no?
I think you can.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything that prohibits you from doing that.
Okay. I'm happy to make the motion that we recommend the name change of Archibald Yale to Nelson Hackett Boulevard to the city council. Can we get a second for that?
Whose turn is it?
Second from Commissioner Huggins.
All right, perfect. Britt, can we have a roll count on this one as well?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, I assume you're abstaining?
Yes.
Chair Jennings?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bryant?
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan is absent. Commissioner Turner?
Yes, absolutely.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
And Commissioner Huggins?
Yes.
And that motion passes, Chair, with a 5-0-1 vote.
Perfect. And the last thing that we have on our agenda are staff updates. So, Britton, the floor is yours if you have anything else.
Thank you, sir. Don't really have anything. We are still working out contract details for the Heritage and Historic Preservation Master Plan, which will be citywide. This is a plan that would include y'all as a stakeholder group, absolutely. And so we're trying to get this contract to council for the August 2nd meeting. I have a little bit more work that we're trying to make sure everything is done absolutely correctly. But we are planning right now for that to go to the August 2nd meeting. So I would anticipate in your next month's meeting to have an update to you on what that process will look like, talk about our consultant, things like that, assuming that council approves the contract.
Is that anything, I mean, obviously you'd love our support at any city council meeting, but is that anything you would like, any of the commissioners to be present for at the
Thank you.
meeting?
This is just so contracts are kind of a funny thing. Oftentimes they just go on consent agenda. So I might make a very, very brief summary to the council at their agenda session the week before. So next Tuesday. And then if the council has any questions or concerns, they can always put it on the legislative agenda and discuss it. But contracts very frequently are or just a procedural item, because the council does have to approve our contracts or kind of authorize the mayor to execute on behalf of the city. So as much as I would appreciate support, they don't get a public hearing in the same way oftentimes. So, but we'll be looking for support once we get the process started and y'all's involvement.
Of course.
Britton and JL, I'm thinking about, I'm working Springdale, but I am available Tuesdays. I'm available Tuesdays. Are you guys available Tuesday? Perhaps we can kind of get together and go over some things.
I usually am in the afternoon.
Yeah,
In the afternoon.
And I can be. I just need to just let me know, and I can make sure that I get my schedule, make my schedule available for it.
We can actually meet at the city hall. We have agenda session at 4. So, Britton, is that okay with you? I'm sorry, we have agenda session at 4:30.
At 4:30,
so,
yes, sir.
We could meet at 4 if you all can.
I should be available, sir.
And this
Okay.
yeah, I
Britton,
did this
can
Tuesday.
you get us a room?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Perfect.
And if anybody else would like to join, you can. This will just be to kind of flesh out all the details for the resolution.
And if we have more than 3 commissioners, let me know so I can plan accordingly.
Yes, because if we have more than 3, then we'll have to do we'll have to get it recorded, right?
Well, at least have to have a public meeting and meet all of those requirements, which we can certainly do, and I can certainly help with that. So if we will have more than 3 commissioners, then probably best to let me know, and I can help.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to add before we adjourn today? All right. Well, I just want to thank everybody for your input. I feel like we got a ton of things done tonight, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. So, the meeting is adjourned at 7:35.